One sign of toxic love is losing yourself slowly. You stop expressing your needs clearly. You avoid conflict to keep the peace. You begin adjusting your behavior to avoid upsetting the other person. You silence parts of yourself, telling yourself it's temporary or that love requires sacrifice. But love should never require self-abandonment. Relationships that don't hurt loudly. They don't come with obvious red flags or dramatic moments that scream danger. Instead, they quietly drain you. They feel intense, confusing, emotionally consuming, and somehow familiar. You find yourself constantly questioning your feelings, your reactions, and even your worth. And slowly, without realizing it, love begins to feel more like survival than safety. Welcome to the Chains and Choices podcast by Ngina, where we break cycles and embrace new possibilities. Guys, today we are opening series 3. Today we are opening series 3 with a conversation that sits at the heart of so many emotional struggles, that is, toxic love and unhealthy relationships. This episode is for anyone who has ever stayed too long, loved too hard, or confused emotional pain with connection. It's not about blame, it's about awareness, because you cannot change what you don't first understand. Toxic love often disguises itself as passion. It feels intense, consuming, and emotionally charged. There are highs that feels euphoric and lows that leaves you anxious and unsettled. This kind of love keeps you hooked, not because it's healthy, but because it activates your nervous system. Calm feels unfamiliar, so chaos feels exciting. But love was never meant to keep you in a constant state of emotional alert. The thing is, many unhealthy relationships are rooted in attachment rather than love. Attachment is driven by fear. I mean, the fear of abandonment, the fear of being alone, fear of not being chosen. And love, on the other hand, is grounded in safety, consistency, and mutual respect. And when attachment leads, you stay even when your needs are never met. You tolerate behavior that hurts you because leaving feels more painful than staying. For many people, toxic love feels familiar simply because it mirrors early emotional experiences. If love in your childhood was inconsistent, conditional, or emotionally unavailable, your body learned to associate love with anxiety. You learn to overgive, to overthink, and overperform to feel worthy of connection. So later in life, relationships that feel unstable can feel strangely comfortable. One sign of toxic love is losing yourself slowly. You stop expressing your needs clearly. You avoid conflict to keep the peace. You begin adjusting your behavior to avoid upsetting the other person. You silence parts of yourself, telling yourself it's temporary or that love requires sacrifice. But love should never require self-abandonment. Another sign is emotional imbalance. One person is constantly giving, reassuring, fixing, and understanding, while the other person remains distant, inconsistent, or emotionally unavailable. You may feel like you are always waiting for clarity, affection, or effort. And when you finally receive it, it feels like relief instead of joy. Toxic relationships also blur boundaries. You may feel guilty for needing space, rest, or emotional safety. You may feel responsible for another person's happiness or emotional stability. And with time, this dynamic becomes exhausting. Love should support your well being, not slowly erode it. It's so important to understand this. Recognizing toxic love does not mean the relationship was fake. It means it was unhealthy. You can love someone deeply and still acknowledge that the relationship is not safe or nourishing for you. Love alone is not enough. Respect, emotional availability, and mutual growth matter just as much. Many people stay in toxic relationships simply because of hope, hoping that things will change, hoping that love will finally feel secure. Hope that if they love harder, just a little harder, it will be enough. But hope without boundaries keeps you stuck. Growth begins when you Growth begins when you accept reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Awareness is the first break in the chain. When you begin to see patterns clearly, you stop romanticizing pain. You stop excusing behavior that hurts you. You start asking deeper questions about who you truly are, what you truly need and deserve. Awareness doesn't demand immediate action, it simply invites honesty. This episode is not meant to rush you into decisions, it's meant to help you pause, to reflect, to notice where love has felt so heavy instead of supportive, where connections has felt draining instead of nourishing. And you know what? These realizations can be uncomfortable, but trust me, they are also very powerful. As we move through this series, we will continue unpacking these patterns together. We will talk about choosing yourself, cultivating self love, breaking free from codependency, and learning what healthy love actually looks like. This journey is not about perfection, it's about intention. If something in this episode resonated with you, please allow yourself to sit with it. You don't need to have it all at once. You don't need all the answers today. Growth doesn't happen all at once. It happens in moments of awareness, reflection, and self honesty. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for choosing reflection over denial and growth over comfort. Every time you listen with an open heart, you are already breaking cycles. This is the Chains and Choices podcast by Ngina, where we break cycles and embrace new possibilities. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Awareness is where healthier love begins. See you in the next episode. Bye.